Welcome to the final accounting of a life lived in the shadows of shallow gratification. You are here because you've witnessed the wreckage. You have seen the narcissist glide through their younger years like a predator in a velvet suit, consuming souls and discarding bodies as if the supply of youth and beauty was an infinite resource. You've watched them use their sexuality as a currency, buying loyalty with lust and paying for attention with betrayal. But time is the one creditor that cannot be gaslit. Today, we are opening the ledger on the lust debt. We are going to witness the moment the biological bills finally come due, and the narcissist realizes that the interest on their hollow conquests is more than they can ever afford to pay. Have you ever wondered what happens when the music stops? You see them now, perhaps still trying to play the game, but the lights in the club have been turned up and the mask is beginning to slip. The haunting question that keeps survivors awake is often, will they ever truly pay for what they did to me? The answer is written in the very chemistry of their declining years. The narcissist didn't just break your heart, they spent their entire lives borrowing against a future they refused to believe would arrive. Now, that future is here, standing at their door with a foreclosure notice on their ego. The party is officially over, and the silence that follows is deafening. Imagine a man or woman who believed they were a god because they could command the desire of others. They built a kingdom on the shifting sands of physical attraction, never realizing that sand eventually slips through everyone's fingers. For decades, they treated human beings like disposable batteries, draining them of energy and tossing them aside for a newer, shinier model. But as the narcissist ages, the new models stop looking back. The predator becomes the ghost, haunting the same old hunting grounds, only to find that they have become invisible to the very demographic they once ruled with an iron fist. We are stepping into a psychological thriller where the villain is finally trapped in a room with no exits. This isn't about petty revenge, it's about the cosmic law of cause and effect. The narcissist used lust to avoid intimacy, and now intimacy is the only thing that could save them from the void, but they've forgotten how to feel it. They are standing at the edge of a spiritual abyss, realizing that every one-night stand was actually a brick they used to build their own prison. They aren't just getting older, they are becoming spiritually bankrupt in a world that no longer accepts their counterfeit currency. You've been told to move on, to find peace, and to ignore their happy social media posts. But I want you to look closer. Behind the filters and the desperate thirst traps lies a visceral panic. The aging narcissist is a gambler who has lost their last chip but refuses to leave the table. They are terrified. They are looking in the mirror and seeing a stranger they don't know how to love, because they spent 50 years loving only the reflection of other people's desire. Without that reflection, they are essentially nothing. The lust debt is a psychological weight that is slowly crushing their ability to breathe. The narcissist's greatest weapon has always been their ability to make you feel like you were the one losing out. They made you feel like you were too much or not enough, all while they were out seeking the next hit of dopamine. But lust is a drug with a brutal come-down. Every hit they took required a higher dose, and now, the high is gone. They are experiencing a biological withdrawal that no amount of plastic surgery or frantic hoovering can fix. They are junkies for validation in a city that has run dry, and the withdrawal is tearing their mind apart. This is the secret knowledge that survivors need to understand to truly heal. You were not the problem, you were the collateral. The narcissist wasn't choosing others over you, they were frantically trying to stay ahead of the debt collectors of their own soul. They were running from the realization that they are empty. Now that their legs are failing and their looks are fading, the realization has finally caught up. They are forced to confront the fact that they traded a life of substance for a life of shadows, and the shadows are finally starting to disappear into the dark. In the chapters to follow, we will dissect the visceral rot of the narcissist's final decline. We will look at why their bedroom game becomes a source of humiliation, why their social circles shrink to the size of a coffin, and why the price of lust is total, agonizing isolation. This is a documentary of a psychological collapse. You are no longer the victim in this story, you are the witness to a masterclass in self-destruction. The narcissist thought they were the architect of their destiny, but they were actually the architect of their own hell. Do not click away, because you need to see the end of this script. You need to know that the person who tried to destroy you is currently being dismantled by time itself. This is the empowering truth. they didn't win. They just deferred the payment. And the interest has been compounding every single second you've been away from them. The lust debt is not just a metaphor. It is a neurological and spiritual reality that ensures the narcissist ends their journey in a state of absolute, shivering insolvency. Prepare yourself for a blunt and brutal analysis. We are going beyond the surface-level advice and diving into the dark mechanics of the aging ego. We are going to reveal what the narcissist secretly thinks about themselves when the lights go out and the phone stays silent. By the end of this video, you will realize that no contact wasn't just a way to protect yourself. It was the moment you opted out of paying a debt that was never yours to begin with. Let us begin the breakdown of the final price. To understand the narcissist's lust debt, we must first look at the neurochemistry of sensation seeking. In a healthy brain, intimacy is governed by oxytocin, the bonding hormone that creates long-term stability and warmth. But the narcissist's brain is a dopamine furnace. They don't want the warmth of a fire, they want the explosion of a firework. For decades, they chased the new relationship energy, the thrill of the hunt, and the spike of a new conquest. This constant overstimulation fried their neural pathways. Like a drug addict, they have down-regulated their receptors. They are biologically incapable of feeling peace, leaving them in a permanent state of hungry agitation. They suffer from what we call somatic objectification syndrome. Because they viewed everyone else as a tool for pleasure, they eventually began to view themselves the same way. Their body was their only asset, their only weapon, and their only source of value. As age begins to dull the blade of that weapon, the narcissist experiences a total identity collapse. They don't have a self to fall back on, they only had a performance. When the theater starts to crumble, the actor realizes they never actually learned their lines, they only learned how to pose for the audience. The lust debt is built on the foundation of intimacy anorexia. The narcissist spent their youth starving their soul to feed their ego. They avoided the work of real connection, the vulnerability, the compromise, the deep knowing of another human being. To them, these were costs they weren't willing to pay. They wanted the benefits of intimacy without the investment. Now, in their 50s and 60s, they have no emotional savings. They have no history of shared struggle with a partner, no roots of trust, and no reservoir of genuine affection. They are spiritually homeless, wandering through the ruins of their own vanity. There is a specific kind of shame that festers in the somatic narcissist's heart. It's the shame of obsolescence. They are terrified of being yesterday's news. Every gray hair is a reminder of their impending irrelevance. Every wrinkle is a crack in the armor of their grandiosity. To cope, they often escalate their risky behaviors. They pursue even younger supplies, engage in even more extreme sexual fantasies, or resort to sugar daddy mama dynamics where they literally have to buy the attention they used to get for free. This is their interest on the debt, the humiliation of having to pay for the illusion of being wanted. Let's talk about the mirror of judgment. In their youth, the mirror was their best friend. It confirmed their power. But as the lust debt comes due, the mirror becomes their most brutal critic. They start to develop body dysmorphia fueled by narcissistic injury. They can't accept that they are no longer the alpha or the siren. This leads to a frantic, undignified battle against biology. They become caricatures of their former selves, too much filler, too much hair dye, clothes that scream, "I'm still relevant." They are screaming at the world to notice them, but the world is looking at someone else. Their internal world is a psychological wasteland. Because they never cultivated an inner life, they are entirely dependent on external validation. This is their oxygen. When the lust supply dries up, they start to suffocate. They experience narcissistic mortification, a deep, ego-crushing sense of shame that they cannot process. They have no tools for self-soothing. They only know how to seek. But when there is nothing left to seek, the hunger turns inward and starts to eat the narcissist alive. They become bitter, resentful, and increasingly toxic to anyone left in their orbit. The lust debt creates a legacy of void. While healthy people spend their middle age enjoying the harvest of their long-term relationships, their children, their grandchildren, their deep friendships, the narcissist is still out in the field trying to plant seeds in dead soil. They have no legacy supply. Their children often loathe them or have gone no contact. Their former lovers are in therapy recovering from them. The narcissist looks behind them and sees a trail of burned bridges and broken hearts. They are standing at the end of the road with a suitcase full of nothing. Visceral metaphors are needed here. The narcissist's ego is a parasitic organism that has finally run out of hosts. It has consumed everything in its path, and now it is starting to consume the narcissist themselves. They are experiencing emotional cannibalism. The rage they once projected onto you is now being directed at their own reflection. They hate themselves for getting old, they hate the world for moving on, and they hate you for having the audacity to survive and thrive without them. Their internal state is a constant, low-grade fever of resentment. Sexual bankruptcy is the final stage of the debt. The somatic narcissist's performance in the bedroom was never about pleasure, it was about dominance. As they age, this dominance becomes harder to sustain. Physical limitations become psychological catastrophes. If they can't perform, they don't exist. They experience a profound sexual anhedonia, an inability to find joy in the very act they once used to define their greatness. The thing they loved most has become a source of anxiety and proof of their decline. The ultimate price is being trapped in a body that can no longer fulfill the demands of a greedy, entitled ego. Ultimately, the lust debt is a confrontation with the void. The narcissist spent 50 years running away from the realization that they are empty. They use the noise of lust to drown out the silence of their soul. But as the lust supply fails, the silence becomes a roar. They are standing in the middle of a desert, realizing that all the oases they found were just mirages. They are truly, fundamentally alone. And for a creature that needs others to exist, this total isolation is the equivalent of a living death. The dramatic turning point arrives when the narcissist realizes the supply chain is broken beyond repair. For years, they believed they were the exception to the rules of nature. They thought their charm was immortal. But one day, they walk into a room and the pivot happens. They try to work their magic on a new person, and instead of a blush or a smile, they receive a look of pity or, even worse, indifference. This is the moment the power shift occurs. The narcissist realizes that their invisibility cloak, which used to protect them from the consequences of their age, has been permanently stripped away. This moment triggers a narcissistic panic attack that can last for years. The narcissist realizes that the lust debt has reached its maturity date. They can no longer refinance. They start panic hoovering. They reach out to you, to their exes from 10 years ago, to anyone who once saw them as the god they used to be. They are scavengers now, looking for retroactive supply. They want you to remember them as they were, not as they are. They are trying to steal your memory of the past to fix their broken present. If you don't answer, the panic turns into a psychological plot twist. They become the stalker of their own history. This is where the narcissist tries to rewrite the ledger. They suddenly claim to have found God or healed their trauma. This is just another attempt to avoid paying the debt. They want a spiritual bankruptcy where all their past sins are wiped away without them having to actually change. But the lust debt is biological and psychological. It doesn't care about their new enlightened persona. The body remembers the betrayal. The nervous system remembers the hollow sex. The narcissist finds that their new self is just as lonely as the old self, because the debt is still registered in their very DNA. The dramatic shift happens when the narcissist's children or family members finally implement the great discard. In their youth, the narcissist could charm their way out of family responsibilities. They were the cool dad or the fun mom who was too busy chasing lust to actually parent. Now, those children are adults with their own lives, and they have no dutiful respect left for a parent who was never there. The narcissist finds themselves uninvited to weddings, excluded from holidays, and blocked on social media. The social interest on their debt is being collected by the people they should have loved the most. The narcissist reacts to this loss of control with malignant petulance. They become the professional victim. They tell everyone how ungrateful their children are, how cruel their ex-partners have become. They are trying to liquidate their remaining social capital to get one last hit of pity. But pity is a low-grade supply, and it doesn't satisfy the hunger for lust. They are like a gourmet chef forced to eat at a greasy spoon. The humiliation of the downgrade is a constant, stinging pain. They are paying the price for every time they put their desire above their duty. This is the psychological plot twist for you, the survivor. You realize that their freedom was actually a death trap. While you were in the training ground of healing, learning how to be whole on your own, the narcissist was in the spending ground, burning through their assets. Now, you have the wealth of resilience, and they have the poverty of obsession. The power has completely reversed. They are now the one watching your social media, staring at your peace, wondering how you manage to profit from the pain they gave you. The narcissist's bedroom game becomes a theater of the absurd. To keep the lust debt from crushing them, they engage in increasingly cringe-worthy behaviors. They might start a midlife crisis relationship that makes everyone around them feel uncomfortable. They are trying to transfuse the youth of their partner into their own failing ego. But the partner is usually a predator themselves, or a broken soul looking for a payout. It's no longer a conquest, it's a business transaction. The narcissist knows this, and the loss of romantic grandeur is a devastating blow to their self-image. They begin to experience phantom supply. They sit alone and reread old letters, look at old trophies, or scroll through years-old messages from you. They are trying to relive the high. This is the psychological foreclosure. They are living in a house of memories because they can no longer afford to live in the reality of the present. They are hoarding the past because the future looks like a blank wall. The turning point is the realization that the past is a closed book, and they are not the author anymore. Biological justice takes center stage. The narcissist's health begins to reflect the internal rot. Stress-related illnesses, chronic pain, and the toll of decades of superficial living manifest in their physical body. They can't seduce their way out of a doctor's diagnosis. They find themselves dependent on the very system they once mocked. They have to ask for help, and for a narcissist, asking for help is a moral bankruptcy. They realize that they spent their lust instead of building care, and now, there is no one to hold their hand in the waiting room. The chapter of the turning point ends with the narcissist's final surrender to bitterness. They realize the debt is inescapable. They stop trying to be charming and become openly hostile. They become the bitter elder who hates the young, hates the happy, and hates the world. They have officially defaulted on their life. The slow burn drama has reached its climax, and the narcissist is revealed as a small, scared, and solventless creature. The ultimate price is finally being presented for payment. The collapse is not a single event, it is a slow-motion implosion. The aging narcissist enters a state of social liquidation. Their friends, the ones who were actually just drinking buddies or enablers, start to drift away. No one wants to be around the dark cloud of a decaying ego. The narcissist finds that their invite list has shrunk to zero. They are left in a total supply vacuum. The price of lust is finally revealed as absolute silence. They sit in their home, staring at a phone that hasn't buzzed in days, realizing they are no longer a player in the game of life. The physical consequence of the lust debt is a specific kind of somatic misery. The narcissist's body is a map of betrayal. The surgeries they had to fix their aging looks have left them looking uncanny and artificial. They don't look younger. They just look like a mutilated version of their former selves. This is the physical interest on the debt. They destroyed their natural grace to chase an impossible standard. They look in the mirror and see a fright mask of their own vanity. They are a museum of regret wrapped in skin. Their internal panic turns into a psychological haunting. They start to see the ghosts of the supply everywhere. They remember your face, not with love, but with envy. They envy that you got away. They envy that you can still feel. They start to stalk your digital footprint with a desperate, frantic hunger. They want to find a crack in your happiness to justify their own misery. When they see you thriving, it's like a psychological whiplash. They realize that the price of lust was losing the only person who actually saw them as human. Financial bankruptcy often follows the lust debt. The narcissist squandered their resources trying to stay relevant. They spent money on cars, clothes, and supplies to maintain the illusion of success. Now, as they age, they realize they have no security. They are economically vulnerable, and the world is not kind to broke narcissists. They lose the grandiosity of their lifestyle and are forced to live in a reality that is ordinary and drab. For a narcissist, ordinary is a death sentence. They are paying the price for every dollar they spent on lust instead of stability. The social consequence is permanent ostracization. As the narcissist's mask crumbles, their true nature becomes visible to everyone. They can no longer love bomb their way into new circles because they don't have the energy. The community sees them as the toxic element they always were. They find themselves excommunicated from the very social high grounds they used to dominate. They are social pariahs, forced to seek supply from other broken souls or professional scammers. The lust debt has left them with a reputation that is a debt trap. No one will invest their time in them anymore. They experience the bedroom collapse. The very arena where they felt most powerful has become a chamber of horrors. They suffer from psychological impotence or total lack of desire. The lust they once used to avoid their emotions has turned into a revulsion. They are disgusted by themselves and by their partners. They find that the act no longer provides the high. They are sexually dead, and for a somatic narcissist, this is the ultimate mutilation. They are forced to live in a celibate hell of their own making, haunted by the memory of sensation. Emotional dementia sets in. The narcissist begins to lose the ability to mimic human emotions effectively. Their empathy mask has worn out. They become bluntly cruel and openly malignant. They don't even try to hide the rot anymore. This causes a secondary collapse. The few people who stayed out of obligation finally leave. The narcissist is left in a spiritual void, where they can no longer even pretend to be human. They are social zombies, wandering through their final years with no connection to the heart of the world. The tone becomes brutally truthful. The aging narcissist is a discarded object. They are the old toy that no one wants to play with. They spent 50 years treating people like objects, and now the universe is returning the favor. They are objectified as the old person in the corner. Their opinions don't matter, their charm doesn't work, and their lust is seen as creepy. This is the ultimate humiliation, being treated with the same objectivity they used to destroy others. They are crying for recognition in a world that has already UN-followed them. They experience the final isolation. This is not just being alone, it is being unknown. No one truly knows the narcissist because the narcissist never let anyone in. They die as strangers to their own lives. They look at their awards, their photos, and their possessions, and they realize these things are cold and dead. They have no warm memories to keep them company. The price of lust is a winter of the soul that has no spring. They are frozen in their own vanity, waiting for a thaw that will never come. The consequence is a total identity erasure. As they near the end, the narcissist realizes that the false self was a Ponzi scheme. They borrowed identity from their partners, their supplies, and their conquests. Now that the supply is gone, the identity collapses. They look in the mirror and see nothing. They are a blank page at the end of the book. The lust debt has been paid in full, and the ultimate price was the erasure of their existence from the hearts of everyone they ever touched. The final truth is a psychological punch to your soul. You were never the victim of their lust, you were the bank they tried to rob. They didn't choose others over you. They defaulted on the loan of your love. They ran away because they couldn't afford the interest of being real. Now, you are free from the toxic debt of the relationship. While the narcissist is bankrupt, you are vested in your own healing. The price of lust they are paying is the profit of your growth. You are rich in wisdom, and they are destitute in desire. This is the moment of emotional closure. You realize that no contact was actually a strategic withdrawal of your capital. By leaving, you foreclosed on the narcissist's power. You took back your energy, your light, and your future. The narcissist is left with the bad debt of their own choices. You don't need to wait for karma. You are the calmer by being happy without them. The ultimate price for the narcissist is seeing that you are whole while they are broken. Your smile is the final bill they can never pay. Secret knowledge revealed. The narcissist's obsession with the past is actually a confession of failure. Every time they hoover, every time they like your photo, they are admitting that you were the only real asset they ever had. They are scavenging your memory because they have zero revenue in the present. You are the standard they can never reach again. You are the diamond they traded for plastic, and the regret is an internal parasite that will never stop eating them. You are empowered because you are irreplaceable. The final truth about their misery, it is eternal. Because the narcissist cannot account for their sins, they can never reconcile their debt. They are stuck in a cycle of default. They will try to find a new supply, but the interest rates are too high now. They are structurally incapable of joy. Your healing is permanent because you did the work. Their misery is permanent because they avoided the work. The price of lust is a life sentence of superficiality. They are locked in the shallows while you are swimming in the deep. You are the survivor of a biological war. The narcissist tried to use your biosupply to stay young. But life cannot be stolen. You have regenerated, they have rotted. The price of lust is a total neurological decline. Their pleasure centers are dead. They can no longer feel the world. You, however, can feel everything: the sun on your skin, the love of a true friend, the peace of a quiet room. These are the dividends of your integrity. You are wealthy in the only way that matters. Cinematic closing. Imagine the narcissist standing in a gilded hall full of mirrors. They are shouting at their own reflection, demanding lust, demanding validation, demanding power. But the mirrors are cracking. One by one, the false selves disappear. Finally, there is only one mirror left. The narcissist looks into it and sees you. Not the you they abused, but the you of now, strong, radiant, and free. The narcissist reaches out to touch the glass, but the mirror shivers and breaks. They are left in total darkness. The ultimate price is the silence of the universe. The narcissist spent their life shouting their greatness. Now, no one is listening. They have become a non-entity. Their lust debt has resulted in spiritual erasure. They are forgotten even while they are still breathing. You, on the other hand, are resonating. Your story is helping others. Your pain has been transmuted into purpose. You have a voice. The narcissist is mute. This is the final justice. Empowerment mantra: I am not a supply. I am a source. I am not a debt. I am an asset. I am not discarded. I am released. The narcissist is paying. I am collecting. My life is my own. The price of lust was their soul. The profit of peace is my soul. I have withdrawn from the bank of trauma. I am liquid in love. I am solvent in self-worth. I am debt-free. Brutally truthful closing. The narcissist is dying in a desert of their own making. You are living in an ocean of potential. Do not look back at the desert. There is nothing there but dust and debt. The narcissist will continue to crawl through the sand, looking for a drop of lust. Let them thirst. You have a well that will never run dry. The lust debt is settled. The account is closed. The predator is foreclosed. The party is over. The debt is paid. The narcissist is alone. You are free. The final line of the ledger is written in your own hand: I survived, and that is the ultimate price they could never pay. Final truth: they lost you, and that was the day they became truly bankrupt. Now, go live your life as the wealthiest person you know. The end.